Um, I guess I would have to echo everything that has been said. I came aboard this project through a traditional audition. I didn't know Paul or anybody involved in the project prior, and I had actually read the book prior to meeting Paul, so he didn't actually have to do a lot of explaining as to what the story was. I think he, probably started to try to explain the story, but then I just butted in and was just telling him about all the passages and parts of the book that I really loved. In terms of preparing for the character, I just watched a lot of movies from like the 50s prior to the Summer of Love in '67, and then also I watched a documentary that was really helpful about the Manson period, so that helped to ground everything that was going on in the book and to get the historical background for it. And then on the actual days of shooting, we just I don't think Paul went into it knowing exactly what he wanted, because I think that he likes to experiment and have the possibility of interesting things happening on the day of, and I think that's what he wants to capture.
There wasn't a lot of, I feel like my particular character didn't lend herself to improvisation because I had sort of a responsibility to speak for the actual text, not only when doing the narration, but even on screen. I felt sort of yoked by this sense that nothing should come out of my mouth that wasn't written in the book, or at least written in the script through, a decision that was made by the writer. So that, I didn't have anything really to compare that to because this was my first work in a movie, but I do think that that's probably somewhat atypical. But I still experienced a sort of sense of for me it didn't feel like chaos, but certainly receptiveness to sort of change a plan based on a momentary instinct. The first shot of the movie was not on any sides I got. There was I wasn't really told that was going to happen. I don't know if that was an improvised decision that Paul made or what, but it was sort of at the end of a day that I had already done my stuff for the day and was getting ready to go home. And there was a passage that I think was intended to just be voiceover, and Paul was like, will you just sit on this park bench for a second, or park picnic table? And we tried it there, and then he was like, try sitting on this lawn, and just asked some random people who were juggling in the background, I think, to stay there. And did it, and I didn't have it memorized or anything. I just really quick attempted and messed up a couple times, and then finally, hopefully, got it sort of right. And didn't think anything else of it. I was 99% sure that would not be in the movie. And it was. And so I do think that there is a little bit of sense of floating on sort of an instinct or opportunity.
I have my own. I brought my own. I just think hearing what everybody has to say, I feel like as more of a bystander watching Paul work on this movie, I think it depends on the scene. I think it depends on the characters. I think it depends on the actors. And I think, a scene like in Rudy Blatnoy's office, when you first see Marty, is probably a lot looser than the scene when, Owen and Joaquin are talking at the party, and it's this very long shot of a very detailed conversation. So, which is what, I love so much about Paul's work, which is that it's anything and everything, and yet it's always his. And, it allows a scene like in Dr. Blatnoy's office to be crazy, but then something else to be dark and mysterious. And I don't know, I got to improvise a little bit about an afro or something like that.
That was very good. I remember jumping in right into a 3-page monologue, and it was, I think someone said that in order to learn your lines, you need to repeat them 300 times. So by the end of the scene, we knew our lines. He would take a scene that takes place on a table, and he'll move it into a car, and it was like dancing in a way, and I really enjoyed it. I think working with Joaquin and my scenes with Josh Brolin too were a lot of fun. There was a lot of laughing, and Paul was laughing at us, and so that was fun.
Working with Paul was the best creative experience I've ever had. I don't really know exactly how he does what he does, or what he wants, or why he creates the spirit he creates on set, but it's really conducive to to good work. A great experience. I remember the first day I visited set before I started shooting, I think, there was a scene between Josh and Joaquin, and they were dancing in front of the car, and Paul was standing next to the DP watching them as the DP was pushing him like this, like so excited to see what they were going to do next, and it was so comforting to me to know I was going into a working environment where the director was very interested in what the actors could bring. That's the feeling I think that is consistent, whether you're doing something really harebrained and insane or improvisational or really following the script, but there's this feeling you're held by that whole time. Quite lovely.